Oh, hey, old sport. Didn't see you there. Just listening to some classic 1920s jazz bangers while reading one of my favorite novels, The Great Gatsby, written by none other than F. Scott Fitzgerald, influential author and notorious member of the Lost Generation, a group of artists who discussed flaws with 1920s materialistic consumerism. Whew, that's a mouthful. So, old sport, today we'll be talking about literature. More like literature. The Great Gatsby is chock full of minute details, none of which are random, that all intertwine to create the masterful plot and convey Fitzgerald's major theme. Whoa, it looks like we've got our daily theme statement. Frequent extravagance in daily life cripples society by clouding more honorable pursuits with the chase of pleasure. But the question is, how is the theme developed in the novel? This brings us to what we'll be talking about today, old sport, Fitzgerald's use of music in the novel.
Every time I'm in the street, I hear
Whoa, Nathan, not that type of music. More like this. Gatsby is set in 1920s America, a time where, after the horrors of World War I, people were concerned with getting wealthy and having fun. With the success of the domestic economy, a wave of active spending swept the nation, and materialistic ideals became the only ideals. Restrictions on fun, like the prohibition, led to blatant disregard of the rules, and what better way to disregard the rules than throwing grand parties with loud music? The answer? Holding reasonable social gatherings that aren't detrimental to the American dream? Of course not, old sport. Many references to music during the novel are fairly subtle. For example, on page 43, the narrator, Nick Carraway, notes how, quote, "there was music at my neighbor's house through the summer nights," end quote. His neighbor being the young and absurdly wealthy Jay Gatsby, who holds more than his fair share of shindigs throughout the story. No farther than the very next page does Nick describe how, quote, "the orchestra has arrived. No thin five-piece affair, but a whole pit of oboes and trombones and saxophones and viols and cornets and piccolos and low and high drums," end quote. Geez, sounds like we're digging through a high school music closet. More importantly, the long list of diverse instruments is a symbol of status for the members of the wealthy class, because apparently the more instruments you have, the cooler you are. Somebody tell that to stereotypical high school movies. Nevertheless, Fitzgerald uses the excessive ensemble to depict the unnecessary extravagance that ultimately caused the end of American prosperity in the 20s. Mr. Cellucci, how did excessive extravagance lead to the end of American prosperity in the 1920s? Questioned me from 2 hours ago. Historians and economists have analyzed the cause of the Great Depression in the 1930s and have determined that the rampant spending above one's means that was occurring in the 20s put the economy on unstable pillars, leading to the collapse. But of course, to spend well above one's means, one needs money. And who had the most money? Well, the wealthiest 1% of Americans own more than a third of the country's assets, and the wealthy tend to save most of their money. When the only expense is on full orchestras and huge parties, the circulation of money tends to decline harshly, thus destroying the economy. No wonder Fitzgerald was so critical of 1920s consumerism. In fact, Fitzgerald is more direct with his criticisms than most readers think. The novel's beloved piano player, Klipspringer, plays the song "Ain't We Got Fun" on page 101. The nice melody has somewhat disturbing lyrics that Fitzgerald certainly capitalizes on. The rich get richer and the poor get children. With hardly any interpretation, it's easy to tell that Fitzgerald uses these lyrics to show the corruption of the 20s, of the wealthy class's hoarding of money. Jay Gatsby's out here throwing parties just because, and the rest of us are stuck with the miracle of childbirth? Yuck! No thanks. Now, we've been talking about literal meaning or direct criticism in regard to the novel, but what does the music do symbolically? Yes, that's the question. Well, if we go back to our "Ain't We Got Fun" lyrics, which are sung by Gatsby when Daisy is in his home, we can draw the conclusion that Gatsby is enriching his social and mental health by re-entering Daisy's life, while Daisy's mental health is declining or becoming poor because of her conflicting relationship with Tom, with whom she has a child. In this sense, it seems as though the rich really do get richer, while the poor get children. Now, what about how the parties affect the people who attend them? Well, if we look at this quote from Nick on page 188, quote, "I spent my Saturday nights in New York because those gleaming, dazzling parties of his were with me so vividly that I could still hear the music and the laughter faint and incessant from his garden and the cars going up and down his drive." We can see how the extravagance of the parties lingered with the participants through the music and clouded their lives. Fitzgerald's shift from positive diction of gleaming and dazzling parties to the negative word choice of faint and incessant is an example of how the superficial layer of prosperity masked the flaws with rampant consumerism in the 1920s that crippled the American dream of self-attained success. Nick is only able to focus when he removes himself from the area from which the lingering music and extravagant parties are happening. Does this apply to all of society? Fitzgerald certainly said so with this quote. How about any other songs referenced in the movie? Sounds like it's time for Lyrics by the Fire. The rules are simple. I will be given some lines from a song in the novel, and we'll have to make an accurate guess as to what the song is, and bonus points if I can make a half-decent interpretation using prior knowledge and secondary sources. Let's begin. But the best one of them all, Jack built long ago, just a love nest, cozy with charms, shall we build for pride, warmth, and love inside? Alright, so this one's pretty easy, because it's obvious. But I'm going to confidently guess that this is the song The Love Nest, and it's referenced on page 100. Klipspringer had played The Love Nest, and he turned around on the bench and searched unhappily for Gatsby in the gloom. A connection to Daisy can be made. Tom would be the builder of the nest, cozy with charm. This is a superficial relationship with Daisy, and she maintains it because she wishes to uphold her reputation, physically and socially. Her maintaining this relationship is building for pride, as the song says, and as she follows the path of love and warmth inside, she pursues her intimacy with Gatsby. The music in this case is used to show how materialism corrupts relationships in society, as superficial appearance is valued over love. Did I get it right? Awesome. The last aspects of the use of music we're going to discuss today are how it develops characters and creates moods. On page 115, quote, Daisy began to sing with the music in a husky rhythmic whisper, bringing out a meaning in each word that it had never had before and would never have again. When the melody rose, her voice broke up sweetly, following it in a way contralto voices have, and each change tipped out a little of her warm human magic upon the air. Throughout the novel, Daisy is developed with description of her colors, like white, and her lightness. But in this instant, Daisy's voice captures her need for attention. The unique way in which she sings the song, with rhythmic whisper and bringing out a meaning in each word, is her delicate personality, striving to be noticed, and clearly this mechanism works as her warm human magic is tipped out upon the air. Look, we get it, you're not a trophy wife and you can sing, but please, keep your warm human magic out of the air. Valley of Ashes puts enough crap in the air. Alright, and finally, how does the music create moods? Besides describing elaborate ensembles during each party to create a fun and luxurious mood, certain songs are placed strategically. We already discussed some, but another subtle one is 3 o'clock in the morning. Fitzgerald personifies this song on page 115 by saying, quote, 3 o'clock in the morning, a neat sad little waltz of that year was drifting out the open door. Daisy leaves the party in a limo while Nick watches, and a somber mood is created with the reference to the song. As we've seen here today, the music in The Great Gatsby, however subtle each reference may be, is the glue that holds the plot together and deepens connections. Music in the novel creates moods, takes shots at American materialism, develops characters, and depicts extravagance. This list is almost as long as the list of instruments at Gatsby's party. Except nothing will ever be as long as that list of instruments at Gatsby's party. Except these credits! Because of how much collective work these videos take, it would be a travesty not to recognize all of the group effort. Chief researchers were Aaron Benson, Nathan Coelho, and myself. Aaron and Nathan were on set design. Script writing and costume planning was done by me. Bibliography, sourcing, and quote digging were all wonderfully executed by Aaron. Nathan continues to amaze me with his incredible video and audio editing, along with mad cameraman skills. Thanks to F. Scott Fitzgerald for providing us with this learning experience and an amazing, intricate story. And of course, thanks to Mr. Alford for everything he's done for us as our AP English 11 teacher. Thank you for watching another episode of Collision Course. Stay classy, Towson. Mr. Cellucci, how did excessive extravagance in... Nope. Many references to music in the novel are fairly subtle. For example, on page 43, quote, oh, no, not quote, that wasn't good. I started and I was like, hype as hell. Can't do that. Good question. How about any other songs referenced in the novel? Whoa, it's time by... No. Last aspect of the use of music that we're going to talk about are how it develops characters and creates moods. On page 115, quote, Daisy began to sing with the music in a husky, rhythmic whisper, bringing out a meaning in each word that it had never before and would never have ever again. And I'm butchering this quote, and it's terrible. We're just not going to... None of this time is my fault. All right. So uncomfortable. Wouldn't it be funny if I wasn't wearing pants under this blanket?